MC. I'm making this video for a body shop fellow I saw at Carlisle. So my phone's working amazingly. This truck was painted 7 or 8 years ago by Pisser near Rochester. He did a beautiful job. So I'm going to show the damage on the hood. It's got a custom paint job. Instead of using a tape stripe, my friend Pisser put tape on it, then he pulled it off, and however magic he did. So the paint's not perfect. You see some swirl marks in the sanding, but when you stand back 10-20 feet, it looks beautiful. Rust at the bottom of the windshield. There's supposed to be a drain hole here. Well, it could drain the Atlantic. So I removed the windshield because it cracked because of the rust. And it actually all gets hidden under the gasket except for just a little bit. The gasket's really thick. It goes down right to there. So it almost covers up all this rust. But I sprayed, or I brushed on some POR 15 type of product. It's right over here. It is Rust Encapsulator by 3X Chemistry. And it's kind of like POR 15. So I'm making this video for this fellow. And what this truck needs is a little bit of paint work around the windshield, and everything's always a bigger job. And the roof got scraped from a garage that I go into, but that just needs to be sprayed over. Paint looks like it's deteriorating somewhat. There's some scrapes in the back from a garage that I have to use sometimes. There's a little bit of surface rust on the top of the rockers, but it is not rotted through. It's full of fluid film. Just needs to be sanded a bit. I sandblasted it, but the problem here is water collects under the rubber moldings, and it just sits there. So all 4 rockers need a bit of sanding. The doors are perfect because they're fluid film protected, and they close like butter. Here's the damage on the quarter. I'm going to pause this and take out the taillight. And the Bondo is thick and rich. There's damage here, and it's been brazed together. But there's no rust on the bottom, amazingly. Maybe a tiny bit. It better not be. Oh, yeah. I'm going to turn the flash on in a second. Let's see what that looks like. That's a common spot for them to rust. Better not be a hole there. Better not be. There's a hole in the inner fender where they join somewhere. I filled it up with some Bondo and some black paint. There's a little bit of paint damage here. And between the 2 doors, needs to be touched up and blended. Why is it rusting there? I don't know, just painted years ago. And the window will have to be removed. We've got some rust under the paint. All these little projects always get bigger. Just a little bit of rust there. So the window will have to be removed. And the gasket's nice and soft, would you believe it? 35 years old. The tailgate was a mess, and Pisser said he'd give it a couple of hours, but it's starting to crack again. Right there. I wish he'd do another job on this thing. Bondo's peeling here. There was a dent right across here, and he straightened it. He said, I'll give it a couple of hours. It looked really good. I didn't rust-proof the roof, and look at that. Salt got into the roof, and it's rusting away. Just tap it in with a hammer and Bondo it. Look at that. Both sides. This side's worse, though. This is the good side. As I step over my Dana 44. There was a crunch in the back corner, and Pisser put a panel in here. And you can't tell what a beautiful job he did. There's an inner panel that holds the taillight. What a beautiful job. And same thing here. Any rust there? All fluid film to death. So there shouldn't be any rust. This thing's got lots of good, yummy, yucky fluid film. This is the only door that has rust. On the very bottom. I've kept an eye on it. A little bit of rust through on this door. It's always been there. Same thing here on the top of the rocker, just surface rust. Water just sits here, and I've sprayed fluid film and I've sandblasted it, and it always comes back. It's a struggle. But no rot. Just the top of the rockers will need to be touched up a bit. And here's the bottom of the windshield. But again, all you see is just a little bit. Here's where I lost control of my sandblaster. Would you believe it? I was sandblasting and I turned for a split second and whoosh! Yeah, sandblasted the window. I'll live with it, but this has to be touched up. And no rust at the top, just needs a light sanding. And the paint on the hood, same thing here. It's peeling just a little bit, just starting to show the signs. Paint's held up real well. It was paint from Napa. I bought it for him. He did a beautiful job. So that's my Suburban. And I think there's a bit of Bondo on the bottom of this fender. Let's see if we can find it. Yep, a little bit of Bondo here. I don't know from what, but must have been some damage. The fender's turned in a little bit. I think I'm going to put a 1-inch lift on this thing. And the bottom of this rocker had a lot of surface rust, so I buffed it with a plastic buffing wheel, and I sandblasted that back corner just to get the surface rust off. And then I noticed a rust spot in this door. Look at that, under the paint. Isn't that terrible? My beautiful truck. So, I hope that shows you what this truck needs. I'll post this on YouTube for you, John, and then I'll show you the Cadillac.